This is Calabash Community, and tonight we are having a conversation with the people who have worked closely with Levern Spencer, St. Lucian Olympian. We are talking about her early days and the early inspiration she got when she broke the national high jump record at the age of 14. That apparently confirmed her decision to take high jump seriously. Did her breaking the national record in the first year really inspire her to take this on seriously?
I won't even say that, because I guess, again, Levern was age 14 and very, very reserved, very much an introvert, and I think that's where my role really started, because she really didn't know how to handle being a national record holder at age 14 and having to come to training and doing the sprints and doing the high jump at the time, So I think I encouraged her during those early years, because I saw that maybe there was some potential there and she could really go all the way, So I continued encouraging her. And then as time went by, she began representing St. Lucia at the regional level, and then, she started having some good success there as well. So by that time, we knew that that was an area that she would continue to focus on.
So when did the alliance start? Did she approach you to manage her, or did you, because I suppose you go into the same church and you had been involved in a lot of sporting events, how was that initial contact made that you were going to get more involved in managing her career?
I think she was very comfortable with me, because apart from the fact that we went to the same church, I was the youth director at the time at the church, and lots of young people. And it was a church that focused a lot on sports. I'm big on sports, so I tried to organize a lot of sporting activities for the church, and she was very much involved in that as well. Not just athletics, but cricket and even football, and stuff like that. So she was comfortable with me, and so when she started having that success on the national scene, of course, I was there to support and feeling comfortable with me, taking my advice in church, that just, moved to the sporting aspect of things. And so she continued to depend on me for decision making and whatnot. So that's where it all got started. And many times she would call me up and ask me what I think she should do in a particular situation. Should she go? Should she not go? And then most times the advice that I gave, she took it, and it was always good advice. So obviously she just continued to depend on me for advice.
Talk to us about the relationship that she had with the coach, Lucian, at the time. I know she was probably twatting and so on in the capacities, but Lucian was the one who known as a high jump coach. Talk to us about how they got along, what was the chemistry, what allowed them to create that kind of a comfort level.
Well, I think they always had a great relationship, because apart from being her specialist coach, high jump coach, he was a PE teacher at the Entrepreneur Secondary School that she attended. So she saw him on a daily basis, and he was the one really working with her in terms of high jump. And again, being a child, I remember her saying in the early days that Mr. Lucian, he knows her very well. He knows her body, because sometimes she wouldn't be doing very well during a particular period, and he would tell her, "Don't worry, that's how you are. Within the next month or so, you'll be where you want to be." So they always had that great relationship, and as a student, she always trusted in his judgment and decision making and whatnot. So I think that relationship continued until she left St. Lucia, when of course, obviously she would have to get a new coach, being at school in the US. So that's when the relationship changed.
Once Levern began traveling, her perspective changed, and with every passing day came a serious commitment to the sport that was now helping her to see the world. The family was happy for the traveling, but a little concerned about the usually reserved little sister.
Because she would be going on her own majority of the time, so we had our own concerns as a lady, as a female, being out there on her own. But when we realized, okay, she can hold her own, then we started feeling a lot more comfortable with the movement. And she has grown a lot, she has matured a lot. Places, Levern is telling me that she's going on her own. They're like, okay, if I'm supposed to go, I'm going to get lost. But she's able to maneuver, she's able to make her way through. So I think, yeah, she has grown by leaps and bounds. And the family, we were concerned, but now we're a lot more comfortable.
Now, when it came, I guess, when she went overseas to study and so on, and also had a new coach at the time, so she had no choice in that sense. She had to work with whoever coach that was offered to her. How involved were you then at the time? Were you in contact with the coach as well? What was your role then?
Well, I've been involved every step of the way. I helped her in making a decision as to which school to attend. She first went to Albany State University for 1 year. I helped her transfer from Albany to the University of Georgia. I was in touch with the coach at the University of Georgia at the time. So I have been there every step of the way in terms of changing coach as we did this year, turning pro. So I've always been a part of what the next step should be, what the next move should be, and we are still up to that point today. But I was never officially her manager or local manager. We always had that open relationship. She just saw me as well. It wasn't official, but I did everything that a manager would have had to do. But it's only just before she left St. Lucia for the US that we decided to make it an official thing that I was going to serve as a manager.
Now, how much did you see once she left St. Lucia to train overseas, to study and so on, that her approach, her attitude changed? Because once you get exposed to the international world, then obviously things are different. It's not like St. Lucia. How much did she change, how to adapt very quickly to what was around her?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure if she did that very quickly, because I remember when she, during her first few days at Albany State University, when we spoke on the phone, she was talking about coming back home, so when reality set in, she realized what she was up against, living in St. Lucia, as a youngster, as an introvert, somebody who was not big on parties and going out there, now you're at a school where you don't know anybody, you have to fend for yourself and whatnot, so it wasn't a very good feeling for her at the time, but as has been the case, I was still there in those early years trying to encourage and tell her, well, that's going to change soon, you'll make a few friends, and it's for a good reason, for your education and for your sporting development as well. So within a few months, she had really adapted, and then she realized that, that's where I am, I have to make the best of it.
A lot of the athletes in St. Lucia who go overseas on scholarships and to advance their own career in sports and so on, sometimes they seem to focus more on profession. But Levern has kept her focus on her sport, probably one of the only athletes who've stayed that long focusing on her sport. Why you think that happened, and what you think was the main reason why she decided to focus exclusively on that?
Yeah, I think it happened because that was always the main plan. And that's one of the reasons I'm as excited as I am, because I remember prior to Levern's departure from St. Lucia, we were discussing, and I was telling her that I really want her to be probably the first St. Lucian to get your degree. And don't do like others. Well, maybe they had a reason for doing so, but unfortunately for them, it didn't really happen. But I was just always concerned about the fact that the Jamaicans, the Trinis, the Bajans who went off to the US, you saw them upon completion turning pro, and you hear of them or you see them running. It never really happened for the St. Lucians, for one reason or another. And we set that as a goal, that you were going to be a St. Lucian who would go off to school, study, do well, but then you would have to turn pro and be on the international scene. So we worked towards that in the early years. So we began the groundwork, and that's why. It really started for her on graduation night, the very same day that she graduated. At midnight, we sat down in a restaurant, and she signed her first professional contract in Atlanta. Same day of graduation. So again, that was all part of the plan in terms of immediately upon completion of your studies, then you become a professional athlete. So it worked perfectly.
Levern turned pro in 2008, and for the past 6 years has been touring the world and improving her craft year after year. I know there are certainly rewards for making that decision. What are the challenges that she's had to face turning pro? I know pro is, most people want to get pro, but then there are major challenges as well.
Major challenges, especially as you would appreciate, there were no other St. Lucians who had done it before, so nobody you could really talk to find out how they did it, how it's going to work. So we relied on just information that I had, and maybe just trying to speak to a few persons that I knew out there, to really see what can be done. But I think the most challenging part of that has been the fact that she has never really had a big name sponsor, so to speak, somebody like a shoe contract, somebody Adidas or Puma, somebody that you can rely on for a retainer every month for every quarter, because as I keep trying to explain to people who think that Levern being around for so long probably has lots of money saved, track and field is not like cricket where you have a retainer and every month you get paid whether you play or not, or if you're injured or not. If she does not compete, she gets nothing. And even if she competes and she does not do well, she gets nothing. So it's really about, getting into the competition, which is another challenge because you have agents out there. For instance, you have a high jump competition, they're looking for 10 athletes, and there are hundreds of high jumpers who are professionals. So the agent would now have to convince the meet organizers that my athlete is good enough to be there. So sometimes you get in, sometimes you don't. Of course, coming from St. Lucia, one of very few black persons who are out there competing professionally, it's not always an easy thing to get. So it has not been without its challenges, but I guess her performance has really gotten her into some major competitions, especially this year. She's been in all the diamond leagues that we've had this year, and so that's a significant achievement. So the challenges have been there, but because of the fact that she has been world class for quite a while, she has been able to get into those competitions.
The more competitions Levern got into around the world, the more experience she gained, but the more time she spent away from family and friends. Although Levern normally travels alone, the relatively soft-spoken athlete has been able to use her connections to navigate her way around the world and to get some of her training needs met.
Even before going, she'd find out from a particular physio, are you going to that meet? If there's a positive response, then of course you'd make arrangements for her to get treatment as well. So normally the fee, you pay the light fee and so on. And so it has been so with her for a while. I mean, I've gone out with her. And while Team St. Lucia is small, maybe only Levern, sometimes a second person. So we don't have a physio, we don't have this, we don't have a masseuse and so on. But as soon as we get there, we then begin to shop for persons she knows that can, that knows her well, that knows her body, and that could help out and so on. So for us, it has worked. For her, I mean, going that way, it's difficult, it's challenging, but she has been able to survive. I mean, she's a wonderful person. She knows how to win people over, so she'll survive.
We speak a lot on Skype. Now there's WhatsApp. We talk on WhatsApp. We try to encourage her as much as possible. I
think Levern's silence is fooling a lot of persons. I mean, Levern knows what she wants. I mean, as managing her, she tell me that is what we need. Let's see who could assist us, and she'd approach the person nicely, deal with the matter. If we get the assistance, we get it. If we don't get it, then we look elsewhere. But she's one, if she needs something, she will go out and get it. And she won't just sit there and complain. She'll go out and get it. That's the kind of person Levern is. So most times seeing her quiet, I believe most persons reading her very wrong. But she's one who you can approach, you have a wonderful conversation with and so on.
This is Calabash Community. We will continue our conversation with those closest to Levern shortly.